who's a freaking awesome loan officer? Doug Cook, 25-year military veteran, retired from the military. Lucky enough that I get to work with him every single day. St. George, Utah, you have got one of the most amazing loan officers that you could ever have. The vet's vet, Doug Cook. Doug, I appreciate you taking time out of your day today to get on this call with me.
Of course. Anytime.
Well, it means everything to me. I'm a huge fan of yours. I believe in everything that you stand for and everything that you do. And it means the world to me to be able to call you friend. We've traveled all over the country together, and I think I know you pretty well. I'm probably not going to tell any of the bad things, any of the secrets, but I'm going to go ahead and go into this.
That's awesome.
All right, you ready to get started?
Yes. Yep.
I've got a series of questions to ask you. It's completely off the cuff. I want the real, honest answers. I know a lot of these, or at least I think I do, but from your perspective, just give me the off-the-cuff, honest answers that I know that you'll do.
Okay.
Number one, I think I know what this is. Matter of fact, I know what part of it is, but I don't know if you're going to have the same answer. So, okay. What makes Doug Cook stand out from other loan officers?
I believe it would be the knowledge and the understanding about veterans, and service members, and the drive that having that 25 years of military experience has given me. Although there's not a lot of structure on the civilian side, I'm starting to create that by myself. And so, in the beginning it was really scary, but it's kind of become fun and a motivator for me, because there are other guys like myself that do separate from the military to civilian world. And so it's given me the opportunity to become a resource for others that are following in my footsteps.
That's just about exactly what I would have guessed. One of the things that you said that I think will ring true with so many people who have walked in your same boots that probably doesn't ring true with a majority of people in this business. You said civilian life isn't as structured and it's hard to get used to. Now, that may not be verbatim, but that's what came across when you said it. Can you explain that a little bit? Because the reason I'm asking is, one, I think maybe civilian loan officers need to understand this. It's something that they can take away. But two, I think you're speaking to a very important group on both sides of this, and I really would like it if you'd spend just a little bit of time explaining that.
Okay. In the military, every task that we are given, there's task conditions and standards. And so everything we do from basic training to the combat field, there's a proper way of doing it, and it's time tested through experience. And so everything that we ask our soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen to do, there's a specific procedure in the way you do it. And the reason that's there is because in the fog of war, once you've practiced doing things in certain steps, it just comes naturally. There's not a lot of time to think, well, is this the right way to do it or not? No, you don't have time for that. And so people in the military are used to training a certain way over and over and over again. Well, in the civilian world, it seems like there's a lot of secrets in different industries. So in my industry, being a loan officer, there were very few people that would kind of sit down, take the time to explain everything, because they knew I'd be their competition. And so it's something that I've had to go out and search for. And so finding Hancock, finding people that have a genuine interest in my success, not because I'm a competition, but because I'm a brother, that's something that I've had to go out and find. Now, there may be structure out there. I just haven't found that specific blueprint other than what the guys and gals at Hancock have given me.
I can very much agree with that and understand that. I've never been in anything as structured as what you have. What it sounded like when you were saying that is there is no time for a decision. It's a reaction. That's what comes next. Where maybe in the mortgage business, besides the fact of people for some reason thinking they've got to keep things to themselves or not share, which drives me insane, but not every transaction is the same. Not every borrower, not every property, not every closing is anywhere near the same. Not every credit report. So that may be part of it. As the learning skill goes, I could see where you could bring structure to our world, and we may be able to loosen you up just a little bit.
You're right. Yeah. I get that a lot, the loosen you up a little bit. Because in the military, everything's black and white. There's not a lot of gray. And very rarely do you have to sit there and wonder, well, what the hell am I doing now? Because you're trained that way. You're trained to react. And so, yeah, I'm starting to loosen up.
Good. Oh, I know you are. I know that you probably still wake up at 4:30 every morning. You're probably out the door at 4:37. I'm sorry. I guess that's 04:37 out the door. But you are loosening up.
Yeah.
So, what technology provided by Hancock Mortgage Partners do you absolutely love that you use in your everyday business?
I wouldn't say that I absolutely love it, because it's one of those things where you just have to do it. But I love the fact that we focus a lot on video, because there's not a lot of people out there that are doing it. I like the fact that when I can create video and send it to corporate headquarters at Hancock, and they will take the time to edit it or give me input on what to do better on the next one. I'm not the most handsome man in the world, and I don't have the best, this is a perfect example, way of coming across and saying my words or what I'm trying to my ideas. But Hancock gives me the opportunity to submit just raw material, and they can either tweak it or give me input on how to do it better the next time, if that makes sense.
It makes all the sense in the world, and I agree with that. This is the first time in any of the interviews that's come up, but I do want to touch on that for a second. You and I both have to commend our social media team, our social media department, because you're right. I am sure that we give them absolute garbage, and they put out a polished diamond every single time. We do so many recordings on the road, out in the field, things like that. And the work that these guys put into it and the end product is just second to none. And I appreciate them, all the way.
Right. Yeah. They make me look good.
Agree. There's no question about it. Now, one of the things you said is you haven't gotten comfortable with it yet. You made some kind of crazy remark. You're not the best looking guy, or your words or whatever. Do you ever watch when I am doing any of the training classes around the country, when I do the Facebook Live and I make somebody go on?
Mm-hmm.
I think that is one of the greatest learning tools. And it seems like every time I force somebody to go into that uncomfortable zone that they've never been before, within about 24 hours, they're making videos like nobody's business. A few weeks ago, I guess it's been about 2 weeks ago now, in Palm Coast, Florida, did one of those surprise videos. And that's one of the things, hopefully nobody's watching this that's going to be in any of my classes. I do this on purpose. Who's not comfortable going Facebook Live? And I watch for that very first hand to go up. That's who I'm going to nail. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And when I go live, and I did this with an agent by the name of Lisa Moore, and she was so uncomfortable and did not want to do it, and I made her go on Facebook Live, And before the day was out, she was doing Facebook Live videos on all of her listings. She was doing Facebook Live videos wherever she was. And she has done amazing with it just in 2 weeks, getting sales.
Right. It reminds me a lot of, and it's funny, the first person that raised your hand, it's never volunteer, right? It's the same thing in the military. It's just like going to, airborne operations. Nobody wants to jump out of that airplane. Nobody does. But that first time you step out the door and you overcome that fear, you want to keep doing it. And so it's taking that step, that leap of faith, that even though it's something you think, or in my case, something that I think I'm going to be terrible at, I fall back on Chad Pria's imperfect action.
Perfect action.
It's going to take imperfect action until you get comfortable and you just start embracing it, just to start overcoming those fears. Yeah.
So you said when you jump out of a plane, do you guys record how many jumps you do?
Yeah, we have a jump log that we record, and sometimes it's accurate because, it's up to us to maintain that record. And then when you go from unit to unit, then, some jumps will get lost, some jumps will hopefully not get added because it's your official record. But yeah.
How many jumps do you have?
Oh, geez. I think the last time I checked my jump log, I had a little over 110.
So it'd be safe to say that you may not be the brightest guy in the world if you jump out of an airplane 110 different times?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one. I fly every week, and I've never once jumped out of an airplane on purpose. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah. Well, you're smarter than me.
So here's one for you. What changes are you going to do to increase the leads for your referral partners and your branch anything in this coming quarter or this coming year?
I'm going to focus on my social media presence and my educating my referral partners on their social media presence. I did a class yesterday with a title company that I do a lot of business with on their social media. And it just kind of blew them out of the water, some of the stuff that I was teaching them. And so by teaching them, it's just going to kind of solidify our relationship so that I can continue to, gain traction as far as giving leads, receiving leads, and make sure that they're quality. So on the receiving and giving ends.
Agree. And I think that's one of the things, that law of reciprocity. Anytime you bring education to somebody, anytime you help somebody with something that they may not be comfortable with or knowledgeable about, you're doing a good thing regardless. And there is the law of reciprocity.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's all about building those relationships and having, being comfort with your referral partners, because once you establish that strong relationship of, hey, I want to watch you succeed. I want to watch us succeed. It just makes it more enjoyable to work with your referral partners.
Agree. So how many years have you been a loan officer now?
Coming up on 3. Mm-hmm.
What do you love most about being a loan officer?
When I and kind of going back to the military, when I separated from the military, I was a leader of troops for so long that that was something that I hated giving up, was taking care of people. And so when I came into the mortgage business and I started to embrace the VA loan, because I had people say, don't just focus on one thing. You're going to kind of put yourself in the corner. Well, I kind of ignored them and just embraced, the VA loan program. And it's did wonders for me. And it gives me opportunity to take care of troops. So whether they retired, or they were Vietnam veteran areas or Korean War veteran areas, even though that they're a lot older than me, I'm still taking care of them.
Agree.
And so that's what I love about being a loan officer, is taking care of people and hopefully changing their lives through home ownership. So yeah, I really get a kick out of that. And
You had told me this one time, and there's two things I want to hit on. You had told me this one time, and I don't remember the exact words, but you had told me that when you are a soldier, that you one of the things that you have to have when you get out is that grounding, that home base. That's something that's so important because if I remember correctly, you said something about at any given moment you're told to go somewhere else. You have minutes, hours to pack everything that you have and be on a boat, a plane, transportation to go somewhere else. And you don't have that grounding while you're in the military, per se, to be able to do that. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, when you always got to be ready to go. You always have your go bag because if you're alerted, you may need to be in country in 12 to 24 hours. And so, and not only that, every 3 to 4 years, you get stationed to a new location. So you're always in a state of transition. When people get out of the military, they want some stability. They don't always want to be in that transition status. So, people want to set roots. They want to, get a piece of that American pie that they can ground and they can start growing from there instead of always moving from point A to point B to point C to point D back to point A and just starting the process over. So it gives people a lot of a feeling of peace to just be grounded in one place. I don't have to be worried about, leaving mom and the kids to go somewhere else for 6 months to a year. It's just some stability.
Now, one thing that I was educated by a very good friend of yours about you that I had no idea. I think we as civilians probably don't understand enough about what you guys go through, the different rankings, things like that. And your friend Gareth Beal, who is also Army, explained it to me. When you were saying that you like helping people, he explained to me with your rank of E8 that you are caught in the middle. That and I may screw this up, and I hope I don't. That you're the one who saves the officers. You're the one that takes care of the troops, and you're that person who's caught in the middle, getting it from both sides. Is that pretty accurate?
That is completely accurate. The non-commissioned officer he's the one that makes his commander look good. He is the one that trains his subordinates and officers. We train officers as well. We train them, they get promoted, then we answer to them. So it is a unique situation, and sergeants are hard on their troops because it's a hard situation to be in when you go to war. And so we treat them like crap, then we turn around, we treat them like they're our kids. Even though they don't think we love them, we do. Because when it comes to it, they've got our back. And the officers know that we've got their back as well.
So being the personality you are, where you have to take care of people, that's a very great trait to have, is that person.
I think so. I mean, it's one of those things where from right out of high school to now, my entire adult life was military. So that's all I know. So hopefully it's a good thing. And I think it is.
Now, I think after our conversation here, I think I know part of this answer. If you don't give me this part, then I'm going to drag it out of you. Do you have any advice or tips for other loan officers?
Focus on helping the client and just do what's right. Don't get caught up about how much this loan is going to how much money it's going to put in my pocket. I think that a lot of time money is a driving force. I think just focusing on doing what's right by the client doing what's, ethically right, as far as, you know, make sure that you're following those guidelines. Make sure that you're helping the client get into the home. If they're not ready now, don't do something stupid to kind of force it in the box. Help that client, whether it's credit or income or whatever. If it's not fitting, work with them to get to that point. If it takes 6 months, do it. Don't try to force it to where that client could possibly lose the home, or you could possibly lose your job, or possibly go to jail for doing something fraudulent. I think it's just very important to always do what's right and always think of the client and their well-being is of the utmost importance.
Agree. That's a perfect answer. One thing I want to drag out of you a little bit. So if I gave you a loan officer that was within, let's say, 10 miles of you, happened to live maybe right there inside St. George, worked for a complete different company, brand new, still wet behind the ears, you wouldn't help that guy, would you?
Of course I would. If because I don't know, he may be working for me one day, right? I'm not going to filter leads to him, but if he's got a program or something, or if he, especially when it comes to VA, if he has a question about getting a certificate of eligibility or something like that, I have no problem, helping him, because he's in the same line of work as I am. He's going to help that client get into a home. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to have a relationship with that client or that loan officer in the future. If I'm going to cut him off and just be a total jerk, that's a reflection of me, not him.
That's exactly the answer that I wanted out of you, because when you said earlier about people keeping things to themselves, keeping things secret, all of those things, that's not who you are, and that's not you. It doesn't compute with you. That it makes no difference who they work for, it makes no difference whose name's on their shirt. In my opinion, you're going to help that person regardless.
Right. It's just the right thing to do. I mean, why live in conflict? I've lived in conflict long enough. Why live in conflict? Why not be that person that helps that loan officer or, that client, help educate them so that they feel more comfortable about what they're trying to do, which is buy a home. It doesn't help me by keeping that information in my pocket. So why not?
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And I think that's what other people need to hear also.
Well, I hope so. I don't understand why it's always got to be a secret or whatever. If you look at it as a competition, I just need to be a better loan officer. I don't need to keep something from someone else so that they can't progress.
Agree.
This is a completely self-serving question. This was put in by your colleagues, and it's something that I wasn't really comfortable with, but I was told to leave it in by your colleagues. What do you love about working at Hancock Mortgage Partners?
The atmosphere. I love the fact that I can call any branch manager in the company if I have a question, and they have no problem dropping what they're doing, as long as it's not at the expense of the client, to help educate me or help me figure out the process of, what the question is. I can genuinely say with all my heart that it's a family environment. I can go from, a loan processor to you, to Maya, the owner of the company, and ask a question or if I've got an issue or a problem, whether it's personal or professional, bring that to anybody in the company, and they would be a listening ear. I really love that, and I feel secure. I feel, knock on wood, I feel like anybody would do anything they could, for me. And I hope that the company feels the same way about me, as far as me giving anything I can.
Beyond. That's why you're such an integral part, in my opinion, of this company. That's why you come to the advisory board meetings. That's why you're on the board of advisors, because we and I hate to say we and them or us and them or something like that, but we as management need you much more than you may need us, kind of thing. You are such an integral part of this company, its growth, its stability, that your value is invaluable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
What is one obstacle that you've had to overcome as a loan officer?
This is going to sound funny, but conflict resolution in the military. With the rank that I had, if I had somebody to come to me with a problem or something else and I give them an answer, I didn't get a lot of flack back, right? And that's just the way it was. Well, now on the civilian side, if a client comes to me and asks me a question and I give them an answer or I tell them something and it's not sufficient in their minds and they come back at me to where blood levels get elevated, I've got several holes in my lip that I've had to bite because I'm just not used to that. I'm not just used to that, you know what, about face and move on. Because that's the answer they would get in the military unless it was somebody who outranked me. Here, I have to think. I have to breathe. I have to find a way of keep my levels down, because the last thing I want to do is come back at a client when they're already stressed and make it worse, which I've had to tell clients, you know what, let me call you right back. And I'll get you some answers. I'll hang up the phone. I won't go anywhere. I'll just sit here and I'll breathe because I'm starting to get hot. And I think that's a natural thing. It's just something that you have to learn how to deal with. And so for me, it's instead of shooting off a smart aleck remark or a cuss word or, you know, just listen to me because this is the way it's going to be. That doesn't work well in the civilian world.
I never thought about that, but that's I can picture that so clearly now. When you tell a customer, I need your past 3 months of bank statements, and them telling you, no, you don't. I can see that, and I never have thought about it from that way before.
Yeah, that's one of the, see, I'm getting worked up now just thinking about it. And I don't want to say it's an entitled mentality, but it does. It feels that way. I remember going in when I bought my first home, I was nervous as hell to, you know, I'm asking to borrow several $100,000 for a house. A lot of clients I get, it's like, you owe me this money for this house because it's my right. No, really. We're lending you a lot of money. We got to make sure you're good for it. And this is how we're going to determine that. And so those people that, no, you're not going to see my bank statements. Well, no, you're not getting a loan. It's just one of those things that I'm learning to cope with.
You're doing a great job. I appreciate that answer so much.
Thank you.
Now, this question is going to be crazy. It's a standard question. It's what your colleagues put together for me to ask. We already know the answer, but I'm looking forward to this answer. Did you always want to be a mortgage loan officer? If so, why? If no, what were you pursuing before this?
Oh, here we go. Okay. No, I had no idea that I was going to be a loan officer. I didn't really know a lot about it. I had a family member who was a loan officer, and they said, come do it. You'd be great at it. Well, I did, and that relationship ended horribly. And so I guess the short answer was no, I didn't. I wasn't planning on that. Now, sorry, I got caught up on that part of the question. What was the second part of it?
If you weren't going to do that,
oh, I got it.
What were you pursuing before that? And I think this is going to be a really good part. So when you're answering this part of it, do they train you? Is there any kind of information so Is it called you're a lifer? Is that what it is when you retire? Okay, so what is it that when you've got a guy who's 44 years old, 45 years old, getting out that's a lifer? What is it that's brought to you? What is it that you're supposed to do the day you get out?
Not a lot. We go through a 3-day separation class that's 4 hours is benefits on what you've earned when you get out, and the rest of it is resume building and job interviews. There's really not a lot of guidance. I mean, if a troop is smart enough, he'll start researching it a year, 2 years out. I just planned on getting a coaching job or something that just kind of held me over, because I do receive my retirement, my pension now. And so, I just wanted to find something that I liked, that I'd work, 9 to 2, 9 to 5, whatever, just something I really enjoy, and just kind of be put out to pasture, I guess is a good way to put it. I was sorely wrong. I did that for maybe 6 months, and then I surrounded myself with very positive, professional, successful people. And it's kind of funny how that kind of rubs off on you. And now I'm working probably harder than I did the last 4 years in the Army, because it's funny, in the Army or in any branch of the service, you're on a pay scale. It doesn't matter if you're working 24/7 or if you're working 410s, you're making the same amount of money no matter what. On the civilian side, the harder the work you work, the more money you can make, and the more money you pay to the government in taxes. But it's not about the money. It's about being relevant to me, if that makes sense. And that's not in a selfish way. That's okay. I'm not just going to dwindle off into the sunset after I retire from a career in the military. Now it's a different life. It's a different world. And now the sky's the limit, if that makes sense. Not necessarily with money, not necessarily with popularity or fame. It's just, what can I achieve?
Your body and your mind were not ready to quit at 45. You still had so much more to give to this world and this country. That's what I'm hearing you say.
It is, but that was a surprise to me, because when I retired, it's almost like graduating high school. The same thing happened in high school. I always plan on getting a scholarship, athletic scholarship or whatever. Graduate high school. What's next? I didn't have a plan, and that was my fault. Same thing with the military. Went all the way. I wasn't ready to get out of the military. I was kind of forced out, which is fine, because that left upward mobility to other soldiers that were below me. But I had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up from the military. And so, I worked, and I didn't have a lot of aspirations. But then when I started to see what I could do, it got exciting. And it kind of intrigued my own interest on, okay, what can I achieve? And so sky's the limit. I've kind of screwed up and set a bar already for myself. And I mean, that's good. That's great. And we'll just see where I'll go from here.
I'm so glad and thankful that happened, because I cannot imagine not ever getting to meet you or have you part of my life, as being that lump in the sand, retired guy kind of thing. Besides that, I don't think you could have done it. I think that would have drove you insane.
It would have. Now that I look back on it, it's a good thing.
Maybe that's something that we should look at is, and I don't know what that is, but helping other guys that are in that same position as you were. I think there's a huge difference between somebody getting out in 4 or 6 years as opposed to somebody getting out in 25 years. From my perspective, anyway, if you get out in 4 or 6 years, you're 22, 24 years old, theoretically. I know that you could be older than that. And then, you haven't learned. Maybe you learned a skill or a trade in the military, but after 25 years, I just don't see there being a job for you to yell at somebody and get paid for it. Maybe a coach.
Yeah, there's very few. I mean, some guys go to law enforcement. Some guys go to, or gals and guys go into the sports profession, coaching and stuff. But for the most part, if you're in that long, you've got the leadership, and you've got most of them are instructors, so you've got that to fall back on. And a lot of them don't do anything. Unfortunately, they do what my initial plan was: just get out and kind of find a job to float, and just be there. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. It's not what I want to do.
Agree. All right, let's move on. We got 2 questions to get out of here. All right. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone looking to purchase, and let's say their first home, or maybe they're a move-up buyer or a move-down buyer? What is one piece of advice that you would give to that borrower after what you've learned in this business?
Educate yourself. Find out what it is about buying a home, or the finance portion of it. Find out what it is that stresses you out or makes you nervous, and educate yourself on it. I've learned a ton being in this business. I would have done different when I bought my home, whether it's with the real estate portion of it, or the mortgage portion of it, or even the home warranty portion and title. There's so much involved. It's important to know what each role, how it affects your experience. And so I think that that's huge in keeping your stress level down, and making good decisions.
Agree. Great advice. All right, this last one, we're going to wrap it up with this last one. This is my Bryant Gumble moment. This is the one that I try and let the world see the Doug Cook that I know. So, 25 years in the military. Lots and lots of friends. I know that you spend time with them every year. You guys go on trips. You go on campouts, whatever you want to call it, excursions. I know that you've got your team together that does the razors and all of that. What does it mean to Doug Cook when Doug Cook helps one of those guys, not necessarily that specific group, but one of those guys, get into their first home, get into their last home, get into a real grounding situation for them and their family?
It means the world to me. Sorry, you're kind of getting a little rough area here. For those guys I've served with, and people, and even the people that I physically served with, people that were in the military, it means a lot to me, because for them to, it's one thing for them to trust me with their lives and stuff when it's just them in country. It's different when you're getting their whole family involved. And when it comes to helping them set themselves up for, financial security for the future, and for them and their families. There's a lot of guys that won't use me because, at first it offended me until I found out why. They don't want something like that to come between our friendship. If it goes south for some reason, then they don't want that to be, a sliver or something that could be nitpicked between our friendship.
A defining moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So it means the world to me. And it's emotional.
I know that it is, and I know that it means the world to you. I know that the greater majority of the loans that you do are veterans. To me, that is incredibly admirable. I know that you're an instructor with Military Mortgage Boot Camp. I know that you travel all around the country to do whatever you can do to not only help others, to help veterans, to help civilians in any part of this. I completely appreciate it. It means everything to me. This is why Doug Cook is a freaking awesome loan officer.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much for your time today. And this is why Doug Cook is a freaking awesome loan officer.
Thank you.